Out there to you. In this problem, we're going to look at a single price monopoly and see what the deadweight loss is, show you how to calculate that, and then consider a couple other things. So when looking at this, we've got a downward sloping demand curve. In some classes, this is going to be called average revenue. So you might see that as well. And then we've got marginal revenue, which is the rate of change in the total revenue function. So as you go down the demand curve, you're changing the price. And the rate of change to your revenue is captured by the marginal revenue. So it's just like an abstract, well, maybe not abstract, but it's a rate of change number. So it's not like a real number. We're measuring how that changes. Then we've got average total cost. Average total cost tells us how much on average it costs us to produce a certain number of units. So like, for example, if you produce 8 units, average cost would be about 12. If you produce 12 units, average cost would be 10. If you produce 20 units, that's the cheapest you could do. Average cost would be 8, so on and so forth. Okay, we use that to compare whether you're making a profit or not. So whenever price is above average total cost, you're making a profit. That's on the per unit. And then if you multiply that by the quantity, that'll give you your total profit. Okay, so we always want to profit maximize. This is something you'll hear a lot of classes will say. What that really means is we want to produce to where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Super important. This gives us the most profit that we can earn. So follow marginal revenue down to where it hits marginal cost. That happens right here. So the profit maximizing quantity is 16. Then the monopoly is going to say to themselves, hey, we can mark up our price. So we can charge a higher price than just 6. And so we're going to mark that price up to here. So the profit maximizing price is going to be 14. Okay. So for this monopoly, price is 14. Quantity is 16 when they're picking a single price. If you wanted to calculate the consumer surplus is going to be the area below the demand curve and above your price. So to calculate that really quick, that's just going to be a linear triangle. This is consumer surplus. And that linear triangle is 22 down to 14. That's $8 times 16. Because that's 0 to 16. Now 8 times 16 is a big number. I don't know. So 8 times 16, whoops, is 128. And then half of that is going to be 64. Since I'm on the calculator. Okay, so consumer surplus is 64 when they pick a single price. Now the deadweight loss is going to be the difference between what the market would produce if it was competitive. So that's going to be where marginal cost equals demand. That's on like a typical supply and demand graph that you've seen before. Okay, so we want to back that up to the markup here. So the markup is the difference between marginal cost and the price. So 6 up to 14. Okay, and shade in that deadweight loss right there. Okay, and what the market would produce if it was competitive. So it's these 3 dots. It's also the loss to consumer surplus and producer surplus that isn't captured by either. Okay, so that's your deadweight loss, and that's going to be 1/2. So $8, because that's the distance between here and here, and 8 units is the distance between here and here. 8 times 8 is 64. Half of 64 is 32. Okay, so the deadweight loss is 32. Okay, now is this monopoly making a profit or a loss? And if so, how much? So we want, for that, we want to look at the difference between the price, 14, and follow that down to where it hits average total cost. So we could kind of round it since we don't have exact numbers. Looks like about 9 or just under 9. We could say 850, however you want, however technical you want to get. But I'll just round it to 9. So it's like we're making $5 per unit on 16 units. Okay, so we'll get a different color here. I guess pink. Okay, and so profit is going to be the area of this rectangle right here. And that for a number, that's going to be 5 times 16. 5 times 16, and that's 80. So profit would be right around 80 for that. Now, one more thing before you go. We can see the quantity where the demand curve turns from elastic, so it's elastic up here until marginal revenue hits 0, so right up until $11. Right at $11, that's going to be the unit elastic price. And then below that, that's the inelastic range. Okay, and a monopolist is never going to want to go there because marginal revenue is negative. So they always raise their price to make more total revenue. So won't be there. And then finally, if they can perfectly price discriminate, they're going to charge the price for the last unit to where marginal cost equals demand. So what perfect price discrimination means is that they're going to sell all the units down the demand curve at exactly the price that the consumers are willing to pay. Goes all the way down here. There's no deadweight loss. They sell 24 units. So it's efficient, but the consumers have lost all of their consumer surplus. Okay, and that's a typical monopoly graph.